Hi, my name is Brandy Johns, and I'm the CEO of a company called Cloud9, which sells safety footwear shoes. Um, what I'm going to show you is a little bit about our marketing strategy in order to take our company from being nationally known to internationally known. And I refer to it as a tale of two salesmen. Two salesmen from Cloud9 were both sent to different parts of Africa in order to determine if there was a market for selling safety footwear shoes. The first salesman called and said there was no market, the people did not wear shoes, and it was no use. The second salesman called and said that the people did not wear shoes, but there was an open market for selling safety footwear to them. As CEO of Cloud9, I had a decision to make. Should I attempt to sell safety footwear shoes in international waters? Would it be beneficial to us? How would I go about it? Would it be a waste of time? Which salesperson would I listen to? I decided to listen to the second salesman and tread international waters. This would benefit my company because even though we're the leading salesman nationally for safety footwear shoes, I wanted the company to grow to internationally. After doing some research, the company and I decided that Cloud9 would sell to the different industries within Ethiopia. There's agricultural industry, there's the leather industry, and the energy industry. Energy industry that all would benefit from having their employees wear safety footwear shoes. Sorry. However, it would not be as easy to infiltrate international waters. I looked up the Ethiopian culture, language, and political and legal systems as well to give me a better understanding of how I needed to go about marketing my particular product, which is safety footwear shoes, to the people in Ethiopia. As I read, I realized that Ethiopian culture is very family oriented, more so about who you know, which is everyone nowadays. But family is definitely comes before anything and predominantly over business or anything else. I learned the proper etiquette on how to address different Ethiopian leaders in a business setting, as far as shaking their hand with direct eye contact, being very soft spoken, not being too boisterous or loud because they take offense to that. Making sure I shook with my right hand. If I passed a business card, I passed it to them with my right hand as well. That way, there was no signs of disrespect whatsoever. So you have to do it with your right hand or either both hands. Could not use your left. I also, as CEO of the company, I did a little research and found that we had one particular employee who worked for our company who came from the Eastern European descent. He spoke their language, which was Amharic, which we looked up because Ethiopian has over 77 languages that are spoken there. But he spoke the predominant language, which is Amharic. Further into my research, I realized that in Ethiopia, you can learn English as a secondary language in high school or in different universities if you're lucky to go to school at all, or college. So having an employee that worked there was definitely beneficial to us. I decided to travel directly to Ethiopia to meet with some of the leaders of the different industries to form a bond and talk about business and family and just to form a genuine friendship with them because I know that that's how Ethiopian leaders particularly like to do business. After speaking with the different leaders of the industries and doing my own research as well, there was definitely cause for concern or whether or not if Cloud9 should go into international waters, especially starting in Ethiopia because of the political and legal system. There was a lot of corruption going on. Their prime minister had recently passed 3 years ago from an illness. So their deputy prime minister had taken over and there was talks about if he could maintain the economy and the government the same way the previous prime minister, Prime Minister Zels, led the country. And then some people didn't particularly like the way Prime Minister Zels ran the country. They considered him to be a dictator, and he was nasty, and he was all about the government itself and not about the people. And there was just more corruption than anything known. Um, there was a time where he was giving a speech, and a heckler, as they would call it, a young journalist, just began to shout out that he's a dictator, and that they wanted freedom, and that they didn't care about food, more so humanity. And as I did research, I understood where the man was coming from, because in Ethiopia, no one owns the land but the government. You can rent the land and utilize the land, but you don't physically own the land the same way you do here. Like when you own your house, it's yours and you have the right to do whatever you want to do with it. It's not like that there. They own the farming land and they own the village land, so they could just move you from one village to another, and there's really nothing you can do about it because the government owns the entire land over in Ethiopia. And with new business ventures and new businesses coming, a lot of politicians tend to just move the native villagers to another village in order to benefit that investor. And as a CEO of the company, I had to decide if it was worth doing business to where I would hurt other people in order for my company and myself to gain money. But because I had already decided and convinced my company to go forward with this, I decided that we would continue. I met with the new prime minister, and I spoke to him and offered to donate a monetary contribution to part of the government to help with different wherever he saw fit to, in order to be able to truly infiltrate my company. And I told him that, we wanted to sell not directly to the people, because we understood that the economy wasn't doing as great. It had gone up within the past 9 years, but it still wasn't where it needs to be for people to financially be able to afford our shoes. But if we sold directly to the factories and the owners of the different companies and different industries, they could provide these shoes for their employees, which would be a better safety hazard, less injuries, less medical expenses, especially since medical is such a high thing, it's such a high commodity and costs very much, but costs a lot, in Ethiopia. So after meeting with him and leaving my monetary contribution, I decided that Cloud9 would go into international waters, and that we could definitely sell safety footwear in Ethiopia. It would take some time to truly, truly infiltrate the market and get it out there, and just to sell it itself and make a profit. But I thought it would be well worth it in the end, to the point where I had my company take a percentage of what we sold to the industries and donate just different safety shoes to Ethiopian people. That way I was giving back, tax write-off, but that way I was giving back and making money at the same time. And it just showed the people of Ethiopia that we were here for, not just to make a profit, but also there to help them and help benefit them as a whole.